I'm Lena Ortiz, 20 years old, the forgotten shadow of my once proud family in Tucson, Arizona, a role I've carried with a tangled mix of hurt, defiance, and a simmering fire that's been stoking itself deep inside ever since my world cracked open like the parched desert earth under a relentless sun. Growing up in a tight-knit barrio where the adobe homes glowed with a warm, earthy hue and the air carried the spicy scent of chili peppers wafting from open kitchens, my parents, Papa Javier Ortiz, a stern mechanic with hands roughened by engine grease, and Mama Lucia Ortiz, a devout churchgoer whose rosary beads clicked like a quiet prayer, raised me with rules as rigid as the saguaro cacti lining our streets and expectations that loomed like mountains I could never climb. I was the younger daughter, always outshone by my sister, Sophia Ortiz, a law student with a razor-sharp mind and the family's golden child, her every courtroom victory or academic honor a mirror reflecting my perceived shortcomings, while my brother, Mateo Ortiz, a quiet soldier molded in Papa's image, added to the pressure with his disciplined silence, a standard I could never match. Our 1,000 square foot home was a battleground of unspoken judgments. My cramped corner of a room, a chaotic blend of Sophia's Law textbooks stacked like towers and my sketch pads filled with desert landscapes, my art dismissed as a childish distraction, my voice too loud, my dreams too wild for their orderly world. At 19, that tension erupted into a storm I couldn't weather when a private video snatched by an ex during a reckless party I'd attended leaked online, my face and voice laid bare for the world to judge, a scandal Papa couldn't tolerate, turning my family's pride into a weapon against me. If you're watching from Tucson, Phoenix, or anywhere across the states, drop your city below and smash that subscribe button. This revenge story with PA Revenge Stories is about to ignite with a blaze you won't want to miss. The Ortiz family's reaction to that leak was the spark that would fuel a rise they'd never anticipate, a silent rebellion born from their betrayal that would one day force them to see me in a light they'd never imagined. The shock hit me like a sudden monsoon, swift and merciless, shattering the fragile peace I'd clung to in our Tucson home, where the adobe walls had once felt like a shield. Sophia, ever the dutiful daughter, found the video first, her gasp slicing through the thin walls as she forwarded it to Papa with a curt message, "Handle this," her loyalty to the family name outweighing any sisterly bond, her ambition blinding her to my pain. That night, dinner rare gathering around our worn oak table scarred with years of family meals was a tense silence until Papa's voice boomed, his mechanic's hand slamming down with a force that rattled the plates. "You've shamed us, Lena parading like a fool for the world to see," I choked out, my voice breaking. "I didn't post it. It was my ex. He betrayed me." But Mama's rosary clasping silence, her eyes fixed on the tablecloth, and Sophia's cold, unblinking stare cut deeper than his words. "You're reckless, emotional, unfit for this family," Papa snapped, his fury curling like smoke, tossing my high school diploma modest achievement they'd barely acknowledged onto the table like it was evidence of my worthlessness. "This family doesn't harbor disgrace," Mama whispered. "It's for your own good," her gaze avoiding mine as if looking at me would taint her, while Mateo stood rigid, his soldier's discipline unable to soften the blow, his silence a tacit agreement. The next morning, I woke to a changed lock, the metallic click, a final judgment, my clothes stuffed into a duffel bag, dumped on the porch like trash, no goodbye, no explanation. Just the blistering desert heat and their rejection searing into my skin. My heart pounded as I stared at the bag, the video's humiliation paling beside this exile, the sketch pads tucked inside my only solace, but a fire kindled within me, a resolve to prove them wrong and rise from the ashes they'd cast me into. The betrayal cut deeper than the deepest canyon, a wound honed by years of unspoken tension that had simmered beneath our family's surface, now laid bare by this unforgiving act. Papa's pride in Sophia's law career, Her path to becoming a district attorney and Mateo's military service had always cast me as the odd one out my sketches of saguaro sunsets and late-night poetry deemed frivolous, my voice too bold, my dreams of art and independence a rebellion against their orderly vision. The leaked video, a moment of youthful folly exploited by my ex's spite, became their excuse to erase me, their honor more precious than my shattered dignity. Sophia's text, "You're an embarrassment, fix this," was the final straw, her ambition a blade that severed our bond, while Mateo's silence and Mama's complicity sealed my fate. I grabbed the duffel, my sketch pads a lifeline, and fled to Mia Lopez, my childhood friend and a barista with a heart as big as the desert sky, who opened her tiny 600 square foot apartment to me, her worn couch, my refuge. "They're dead wrong. Lena, you've got fire in you," she said, her voice a balm as I cried, her belief a spark in my darkness. The Ortiz family's rejection, Papa's fury, Mama's silence, Sophia's betrayal ignited a resolve to reinvent myself, to rise from their ashes. I cut my hair short, dyed it a stark black, and adopted a new name, Lena Vale, erasing every trace, not out of shame, but to build a life where their judgment couldn't reach, a silent rebellion brewing. As I stepped into the unknown with nothing but my art and a determination to prove them wrong. The desert stretched ahead, a vast canvas, and I walked into it, ready to craft a future they'd never control, a rise that would one day force them to reckon with the daughter they'd discarded. The weight of Papa's words, "You've shamed us," Lena still echoed in my ears as I stood on the sun-scorched porch of our Tucson home, the 1,000 square foot adobe structure, now a fortress of rejection, the duffel bag of clothes at my feet, a pitiful testament to my exile. The air was thick with the scent of desert dust and the sting of betrayal, the change lock a cold barrier between me and the family I'd once called mine. Inside, the tension from that fateful dinner lingered like a ghost, Papa's fury, Mama's silence, and Sophia's icy judgment replaying in a loop that tightened around my chest. Mia Lopez, my childhood friend and a barista with a heart as wide as the Arizona sky, rushed out of her tiny 600 square foot apartment when I called, her voice a lifeline through my tears. "They can't do this, Lena, what happened?" she asked, pulling me inside, her worn couch a sanctuary as I spilled the story. The Ortiz family's decision to cast me out over a video I didn't leak had turned my world upside down, and that confrontation was the spark for a revenge they'd never see coming. If you're watching from Tucson, Phoenix, or anywhere across the states, drop your city below and smash that subscribe button. This revenge story with PA Revenge Stories is about to take flight. The night before, dinner had been a pressure cooker, the worn oak table, a stage for their judgment, the chandelier's soft glow casting shadows over our faces. Papa, retired mechanic and patriarch, sat at the head, his hands still marked by engine grease, raising a glass to Sophia's latest law school triumph, her image as a rising star flickering on the muted television. "That's my girl," he boomed, pride swelling while I sat at the far end, fork poised over my plate, eyes downcast, my recent community college graduation in humanities ignored, a secret I'd kept knowing they'd scoff. Mama, her rosary beads clicking like a metronome, offered no warmth, her gaze fixed on her plate, while Mateo, my soldier brother, stood rigid, his silence a wall. The leaked video me ex's spiteful revenge had exploded online, and Sophia, ever the enforcer, found it first, sending it to Papa with, "Handle this," her loyalty to the family name outweighing any sisterly tie. That night, Papa stormed in, fury curling off him like smoke. "You think we raised you for this? For the world to see you like a tramp?" He roared, not letting me explain. "I didn't post it, it was him," I choked out, but he cut me off, tossing my diploma like trash. You're reckless. Unfit shit out. The confrontation escalated into a family tribunal, each word a lash against my spirit. Mama whispered, "It's for your own good," her eyes avoiding mine, her rosary a shield, while Sophia stepped forward, her voice soft but cutting. "You're an embarrassment, Lenafix. This or leave." Her law student precision stung, her ambition blinding her to my pain. Mateo remained silent. His soldier's discipline, a tacit nod to Papa's command. His presence, a weight I couldn't shift. "This family doesn't harbor disgrace," Papa snapped, his voice a gavel. I pleaded, I was violated, not my choice. But Mama's silence and Sophia's cold stare sealed my fate. The next morning, the lock clicked shut, my clothes in a duffel on the porch, the desert heat baking my resolve. Mia arrived, her apartment a haven, her arms wrapping me as I sobbed. "They're wrong, you've got heart," she said, her belief a spark. The Ortiz family's rejection, Papa's rage, Mama's complicity, Sophia's betrayal ignited a fire to reinvent myself, to rise from their ashes. I cut my hair short, dyed it black, and chose Lena Vale, erasing their hold, not out of shame, but to build a life they couldn't touch. The desert stretched ahead, a vast canvas, and with Mia's support, I stepped into it, ready to craft a future that would one day force them to see me anew. The desert sun beat down on me as I stood outside Mia Lopez's tiny 600 square F-oot apartment in Tucson, the duffel bag of clothes and sketch pads at my feet, a fragile lifeline. The sting of the Ortiz family's rejection still raw like an open wound beneath my skin. The air was thick with the scent of sagebrush and the weight of their silence, Papa's fury, Mama's complicity, Sophia's cold dismissal echoing in my ears, a betrayal that had severed me from the only home I'd known. Mia, my childhood friend and barista, with a heart as vast as the Arizona sky, pulled me inside, her worn couch a sanctuary where I collapsed, tears streaming as I recounted the night they'd cast me out over a video I didn't leak. "They're dead wrong, Lenny, you've got fire," she said, her voice a steady anchor, her belief a spark in my darkness. The Ortiz family's exile had stripped me bare, but it also lit a resolve to disappear, to reinvent myself, and that journey would become a silent rebellion they'd never anticipate. If you're watching from Tucson, Phoenix, or anywhere across the states, drop your city below and smash that subscribe button. This revenge story with PA Revenge Stories is about to take a wild turn. The decision to vanish came like a desert wind, swift and unyielding, a choice born from the ashes of their judgment. With Mia's help, I cut my hair short, the black dye transforming my reflection in her cracked bathroom mirror, a shedding of the Lena they'd known. I adopted Lena Vale, a name that felt like a fresh canvas, erasing every trace social media, old contacts, even my birth records, not out of shame, but to build a life where their scorn couldn't reach. Mia drove me to the Greyhound station, her eyes wet but determined. "You're not running, you're rising," she whispered, slipping me $50 from her tips jar. The bus rumbled north, its worn seats a cradle for my escape, and I left Tucson behind, the city's lights fading into the vast night. The first week, I crashed in Mia's car, her kindness a temporary shield. But by day 7, her patience waned under her own struggles, and I boarded a bus to Denver, a city where no one would care who I'd been. The journey was a blur nights under overpasses, the cold seeping through my thin jacket, my sketch pads, my only comfort as I sketched the stars to keep my sanity. Denver greeted me with gray skies and a chill that crawled into my bones, a far cry from Tucson's warmth, and I landed in a rundown apartment building with peeling paint and rust-stained sinks, its thin walls coughing every neighbor's argument into my 300 square F-oot room. Rent was cheap at $400 a month, heat unreliable, but it was a mattress, a folding table, and a cracked mirror, my new domain. I worked relentlessly, Mornings serving pancakes at a diner off Colfax Avenue, memorizing orders and names I'd forget by clock out, afternoons scrubbing floors at a medical clinic, the sticky residue of cough syrup, a reminder of others' struggles. Evenings, I hunched over a secondhand keyboard, inputting data for a logistics firm that paid $12 an hour and didn't ask my past, my fingers numb but driven. At night, when the silence pressed against my ribs, I wrote not full words, but fragments in a code I'd made as a child, a diary only I understood, a way to bleed without leaving stains. I painted too. Sparingly paint was a luxury at $5 a tube, but one night, after a brutal shift, I used an old toothbrush with dollar store acrylics to create a piece of a figure collapsing into its shadow, hanging it behind a curtain where no one asked, a silent testament to my survival. The turning point came during a graveyard shift at the clinic, a moment of chaos that shifted my path. Shouts in Spanish erupted in the hallway, a small, terrified woman clutching a child, an officer looming with deportation papers, barking, "Sign this!" Panic froze her, and I stepped in, heart hammering. She's not signing, that form's invalid. I lied, my voice sharp, grabbing the papers. The officer hesitated, grumbled, and left, the woman crying into her daughter's jacket. Later, Rafael Delgado, the clinic's director and a nonprofit leader, called me in, expecting a reprimand. Instead, he smiled. "Most don't do that, you've got guts. Join us at Progreso Libre, not as a cleaner." I started at the bottom again, fetching coffee, translating documents, running errands, but I watched, learned, and grew, drafting proposals, coordinating grants, balancing budgets, all while taking online policy courses and shadowing city council meetings to master power's language. Mia called occasionally, her voice a thread to my past. "You're shining, Lena, keep going." The apartment, once a prison, became a forge. My art and advocacy a rebellion against the family that had erased me, a silent rise building toward a day they'd have to face me anew. The hum of Denver's city life filtered through the thin walls of my 300 square foot apartment, a stark contrast to the desert silence I'd left behind. As I sat at my folding table, the weight of my reinvention, as Lena Vale settling into a quiet strength that had begun to reshape my world. The air carried the faint scent of coffee from my diner shifts and the lingering tang of clinic disinfectant, a reminder of the grind that had brought me here. While the Ortiz family's rejection, Papa's fury, Mama's silence, Sophia's betrayal faded into a distant echo, fueling a fire that now burned with purpose. Rafael Delgado, the director of Progreso Libre, a nonprofit championing undocumented immigrants, had seen that spark during my clinic stand. His offer to join his team, a turning point that shifted my path from survival to leadership. Mia Lopez, my best friend from Tucson, called weekly, her voice a lifeline. "You're a force now." "Lena, keep pushing," she'd say, her belief, a beacon as I navigated this new terrain. The family that had cast me out had unknowingly set me on a collision course with a destiny they'd never foresee, and that rise was about to take a bold leap. If you're watching from Tucson, Phoenix, or anywhere across the states, drop your city below and smash that subscribe button. This Revenge Story with PA. Revenge Stories is heating up. My ascent began at the bottom of Progreso Libre, a humble start that belied the power I'd soon wield. My days a relentless cycle of fetching coffee, translating legal jargon, and running errands for a team that didn't yet know my past. The nonprofit's 800 square foot office was a hub of hope, its walls plastered with community flyers, and I soaked it all in, watching Rafael's strategic mind at work, learning the rhythm of advocacy. I started drafting proposals in the evenings, my hands stained with ink from late-night sessions, coordinating grants with a precision that surprised even me, all while balancing budgets with online policy courses and shadowing Denver City Council meetings to decode the language of power. My art, those sparse paintings with dollar store acrylics evolved, each brushstroke a release, hung behind curtains where no one asked, a silent testament to my growth. Lila Torres, a colleague and former teacher turned advocate, became a mentor, her wisdom guiding me. You've got a voice, use it, she'd say, her encouragement pushing me to lead community outreach, my sketches now informing campaign visuals. The apartment, once a prison, became a forge, my coded diary, a map of resilience, each page a step toward a leadership role I hadn't dared dream of. The breakthrough came when I secured emergency housing for a family fleeing cartel violence. Their tearful gratitude, a mirror to my own survival, and a young intern's question, why do you do this? Forced me to confront my purpose. I don't have a family to return to, so I'm building a place where I might belong, I replied, the words a revelation that steadied my resolve. Raphael noticed, promoting me to coordinate policy initiatives, my voice growing steadier as I navigated grant negotiations and city hall debates. Lila's support deepened, her stories of overcoming family rejection resonating with mine, while Mia's calls kept me grounded, her pride a thread to my past. You're a leader now, Lenadont looked back, she'd say. The Ortiz family's shadow loomed, but I buried it. My new identity as Lena Vale, a shield, my art and advocacy, a rebellion against their erasure. Then, a tense moment at a council meeting opposing a harsh immigration bill tested me. A councilman sneered, "Who's this upstart?" I stood, my voice clear, someone who's seen the cost of silence, swaying the vote. The room's applause was my first public win, a signal my rise was gaining traction, setting the stage for a confrontation they'd never expect. My reputation solidified as I earned a spot on Denver's Immigration Policy Advisory Council, a role that wasn't glamorous, no motorcades, just a 500 square F-oot meeting room with folding chairs but carried real power to shape laws. I led with a quiet intensity, my sketches now part of advocacy campaigns, my voice a force in debates, earning respect from allies and foes alike. Lila praised, "You're rewriting the rules," while Raphael trusted me with high-stakes negotiations. The Ortiz family's rejection had been a catalyst, and though I hadn't sought them out, whispers of my success reached Tucson Sophia's law firm, lost a client to my advocacy, a subtle ripple. I kept my past buried, my black-dyed hair and new name a fortress, but the past crept closer when a journalist, intrigued by my rise, probed too deep. "You're a mystery, Lanani family?" he asked. I smiled, deflecting, my stories in my work, but the question stirred memories. The council invited me to speak at a statewide forum, a chance to face my past, and I prepared, my heart steeling for a reckoning that would force the Ortiz family to see the daughter they discarded, a silent rise, about to roar into their world. The hum of anticipation filled the air as I stepped into the Tucson courthouse, the 2,000 square F-oot chamber, a stark contrast to the cramped 300 square F-oot apartment where I'd rebuilt my life as Lena Vale, the weight of my past as Lena Ortiz pressing against my chest like a storm about to break. The polished wood and echoing footsteps carried the scent of justice mixed with tension, a stage where the Ortiz family's rejection would collide with the rise they'd never anticipated. My appointment to Denver's Immigration Policy Advisory Council had brought me national attention, my voice shaping laws from a 500 square F-oot meeting room. But this return was personal a reckoning, born from Papa's fury, Mama's silence, and Sophia's betrayal over that leaked video. Mia Lopez, my best friend and barista turned confidante, had hugged me before the flight, her voice steady. "You're a storm, Lena, let them feel it." Lila Torres, my mentor at Progreso Libre, nodded via video call. "They'll see the woman you've become." The Ortiz family, Papa Javier, Mama Lucia, Sophia thought they'd erase me, but my presence here would shatter their illusion. If you're watching from Tucson, Phoenix, or anywhere across the states, drop your city below and smash that subscribe button. This revenge story with PA Revenge Stories is about to explode. The courtroom buzzed as I slipped into the back row, my black-dyed hair tucked under a plain cap, sunglasses masking my eyes, a nondescript coat blending me into the shadows of ghosts they didn't expect. Sophia Ortiz, my sister, and now a prosecutor under investigation for evidence tampering in an immigration case, sat at the front, her posture impeccable, her lips pressed into that familiar cold line, unaware of my gaze. Papa sat beside her, his mechanic's frame rigid, while Mama clutched her rosary, her eyes downcast, the family name their shield. The judge, a stern woman with silver hair and a piercing stare, entered, her presence commanding silence. As she scanned the room, her eyes paused on me, a double take freezing the air. "Waitus, that Lena Vale, the governor?" she asked, her voice cutting through the murmurs. Every head whipped around, cameras flashing, reporters gasping. Sophia's mouth fell open, her composure cracking, while Papa squinted, disbelief etching his face, and Mama turned white, her hand flying to her chest. I didn't flinch, didn't nod just, sat still, my spine straight, my existence a statement louder than words, the years of silence they'd impose now a mirror reflecting their shock. The tension thickened as the judge resumed, but the room's focus lingered on me. Journalists whispering, lenses zooming, a bailiff waving off a too-eager photographer. Sophia's case accused of manipulating evidence to deport an innocent mother unfolded, her defense crumbling under scrutiny, but my presence stole the narrative. Papa's eyes bore into me, searching for the daughter he'd disowned, while Mama's whispered prayer was lost in the chaos. I stayed silent, my purpose not to save but to witness, to let them feel the weight of their past actions. The adjournment came, and I rose, walking out the side door, the click of my steps, a quiet victory, no one daring to follow. Back at my hotel, my phone buzzed with missed call express, colleagues, even an old Tucson contact my face trending, my name, a headline. The leaked video resurfaced, pixelated but unmistakable, my ex's smug interview adding fuel, but I didn't flinch. My staff scrambled. "Issue a statement," but I whispered, "Let them look, I've survived worse." The Ortiz family struck back. Papa called, his voice sharp. "You're using our name for gain, dragging our legacy through mud." I leaned back, calm. I carried that name longer than you carried me. I stayed to remind myself who not to become. He hung up, and Mama's hospital trip for a blood pressure spike reached me via a cousin's call. Against instinct, I flew to Tucson, entering her room unannounced. Teresa, frail in a gown, whispered, "Mija," tears falling. I took her hand, silent, not forgiving, just present, leaving a painting titled "Witness," a silhouette in a desert in her table. Back in Colorado, the media frenzy peaked, but I stood firm at a cabinet meeting. "I won't rewrite the past, but I'll decide its use," I declared, introducing the Justice Witness Protection Bill to criminalize familial pressure on public figures, a pointed strike at my family. The press lauded it, headlines shifting to "Governor Ortiz redefines armor." Sophia's indictment solidified her career in ruins, while Papa and Mama retreated, their silence a surrender. I walked Denver's streets, coffee in hand, smiling unseen but unbreakable. Drop a rise if you face family betrayal, and subscribe to PA Revenge Stories for more epic turnarounds. The quiet click of the hotel door in Tucson faded into the desert night as I left Mama's hospital room, the painting titled "Witness," a silent gift on her bedside table, its silhouette a mirror to the strength I'd forged from the Ortiz family's rejection. The 2000 Square F Oot courthouse where I'd faced them still echoed in my mind, the weight of their shock, Papa's squint, Sophia's gasp, Mama's tears lifting like a dust storm settling, replaced by a peace I had earned through my silent rise. Back in Denver, the 300 square FU apartment where I'd rebuilt myself as Lena Vale felt like a cocoon now shed, my journey from exile to governor a testament to resilience. Mia Lopez, my best friend and barista turned confidante, called with a cheer, "You owned them, Lena." While Lila Torres, my mentor at Progreso Libre, praised, "You've rewritten your story." If you're watching from Tucson, Phoenix, or anywhere across the states, drop a rise below and hit subscribe. This tale of revenge and renewal fits perfect with PA revenge stories. The Ortiz family had tried to bury me, but I turned their disdain into a legacy of power. The aftermath rippled through our lives with a force they couldn't ignore. Sophia's indictment for evidence tampering stuck, her once golden career as a prosecutor crumbling into whispers of disgrace, legal circles cutting ties as her name became a cautionary tale. Papa retreated into silence, his mechanic's pride bruised, while Mama's hospital stay hinted at a shift, her tears a crack in her rosary-clad armor. No calls came, no apologies, just a cousin's update that the family avoided my name, their defeat a quiet surrender. The Justice Witness Protection Bill passed. Its headlines, Governor Ortiz shields the silenced, a victory that echoed beyond Colorado, earning me speaking gigs in a Southern Policy Review feature. My staff at Progreso Libre thrived. Our 800 square foot office buzzing with new initiatives. My leadership a beacon for the marginalized. Mia visited her son tagging along, their laughter filling my space, a chosen family that healed old wounds. My inner transformation deepened through therapy, Dr. Elena Cruz asking, what if their approval was never yours to win? The question stung, a raw scrape on past scars, but it freed Mimi Worth, wasn't their script. I built bonds with Mia, Lila, and Rafael Delgado, whose nonprofit mentorship shaped me, their support, a mirror to my growth. At a community center, a 17-year-old girl, Aisha, approached, eyes hesitant. My dad says, art's a waste, can I still try? I smiled, forge your path, Aisha. I did, your passion is your power. Her nod was a spark, a ripple from my fight. Work became purpose. I expanded Progreso Libre's outreach. My sketches now part of advocacy campaigns. My voice a force in policy debates, earning a $50,000 grant to aid immigrant families. Months later, my influence grew. Invitations to national forums pouring in, my name whispered in advocacy circles. I spoke at schools, urging kids to defy doubt. A boy, 15, asked, what if my family hates it? I grinned, build a life so true, their hate fades. Find your tribe mind saved me. His smile was a win. Back home, Mia cooked, her laughter blending with the city's hum. You're a legend, she said. I nodded, my crown self-made. The Ortiz family's attempts at contact Papa's text, we need to talk. Mama's plea for dinner got no reply. Their legacy was mine to redefine. Drop a rise if you've overcome family rejection. And subscribe to PA Revenge Stories for more epic comebacks. Your power is yours to claim.